Hello, Transurfers and the Transurfing Curious. I am Renee Garcia, and this is TransurfingTV, the only endorsed YouTube channel by Vadim Zeland. Today, I am going to be discussing, by request, family pendulums and why they fuck you up so bad. Excuse my language, but we have to admit sometimes the family pendulum is one of the most powerful, and it can be one of the most destructive. I know we just came out of the holiday season and a lot of us get triggered. A lot of stuff happens within the family dynamic, and I'm here to explain a little bit why that happens, in my opinion, and what you can do to manage yourself better within this family pendulum, within this dynamic. So the reason that this family pendulum is so powerful is that it is a very old, deep, resonating frequency for you. Now, you grew up within this pendulum, and even from the time when you were very, very young, an infant, a toddler, a young child, you were affected by the information coming in. Maybe your family doesn't necessarily have bad intentions. Maybe they learned traits and characteristics and habits and patterns from their family pendulum, and this stuff sort of layered on top of you from a very young age when you did not have the ability to understand what was happening yet. And this accumulated over years or decades. Again, some of this information, some of these habits, patterns, all this stuff is generations old. It's really, really old stuff. I know for me, I have a lot of family pendulums that go way back. I mean, I could see traits from family that was 4 generations. When I was about 20 years old, me and my family matched the Guinness Book of World Records for the most generations alive. We had, well, if I would have had a child, then it would have been the most generations alive. So it was me, my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my great-great-grandmother were still alive. So I got to see a lot of resonating frequency throughout all of these generations. And even to this day, I still get massively triggered when I'm around family. Now, I have gotten better, but I still have to pull transurfing concepts into this dynamic with me and try my best to transurf this. It's still a challenge for me. It's one of my biggest challenges. And yeah, I will go into a little bit of what I do specifically, what you can do, and how to sort of see this from the transurfing perspective through the transurfing filter and maybe gain some relief if you're struggling with a family dynamic. So, one of the best tools that I've found is, well, maybe not necessarily a tool, but one of the best ways to really call attention to what is going on is to go into these family situations and activate your inner observer or your inner guardian, depending on what translation you've read. So activating that inner observer and telling or having a conversation with your inner observer that, okay, I am about ready to be challenged, inner observer. Help me when some of these things that trigger me pop up, and help me in my ability to not only bring awareness to what exactly is going on, but to deal with it in a transurfing way, right? Not allow yourself to just get hooked onto the pendulum and go swinging with it. I mean, you can do that if you feel that it's the best way to do it, and maintain awareness about what you're doing, how much energy you're giving, or you can utilize some other tools. So one of the biggest tools for me is dropping importance. A lot of times my family is a very, very political family. We don't share political beliefs. So I'm oftentimes singled out, and they try to bait me into conversations and arguments and political debates and all that stuff. So what I do going in is I drop importance on political beliefs. Now, I don't vote. It's not necessarily that I have a specific viewpoint. It's that I do not share theirs. So that's what their pendulum is about, is they want me to share their views. So when I go into the environment, I try to the best of my ability to say, they have their views, like Vadim Zeland says in Reality Transurfing. Quite frequently, allow yourself to be you and allow others to be themselves as well. So I acknowledge that, first of all, they don't necessarily know what it is they are doing at times. I believe the political pendulum has them convinced that they need to have everybody in their vicinity agree with them, right? So they're just acting on behalf of the pendulum. I don't think they actually care. Personally, I think that they feel that pendulum prod to get me in. So I acknowledge that, and when they do that, I try to allow them to be themselves. Now, I don't always succeed. I will be honest. I don't always succeed, but I try. I try to the best of my ability to say, listen, they're just calling to the pendulum's siren call and trying to, get me to convert, and just let it be, right? You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to, you don't have to make a war, a battle out of this. This comes back to being aware of the pendulum's tricks, right? Knowing what exactly is going on in regards to what the pendulum is using as bait to hook you in. Now, a lot of times within the family dynamic, the pendulum uses guilt, right? Sense of duty, hierarchy. We want you to submit, we want you to know your role, and we are going to assert our role over you. So these are all tricks that the pendulum uses. Once you become hip and aware of the tricks, it really eradicates a lot of that charge, a lot of that emotional charge, because as soon as you see it, you can say, there it is, right? You know what's going on. You can maintain control of your thoughts and your emotions when you are aware of the pendulum's tricks. When you aren't aware of the pendulum's tricks, that's when you are susceptible to getting more hooked. So it's really about entering into a family dynamic and paying attention very quickly what pendulums are exactly going to come for you and in what ways. And if you can do this, this is really half the battle. The other thing that I like to say is care without worrying, right? A lot of times family wants to convince us that we need to worry for some reason. Maybe people aren't doing well in the family, maybe somebody's getting divorced, maybe kids are having issues, maybe health issues in the family. All sorts of different things can play out. And what happens is usually the people higher up in the hierarchy want everyone to act and worry in the same manner or fashion that they are, and they want to get this thing going. So you can care without worrying. And this is really a big one for me. This has been very valuable. I will admit that I still am challenged with this. I'm going through a challenge right now, and this is why I'm talking about this. I have a family situation going on, and last night I was talking to my partner, and my partner said, listen, don't worry, right? And I, of course, then call to mind, I can care without worrying. Worrying is me being caught by the pendulum. And it's not that the pendulum's trying to do anything bad to me, right? But I'm not going to be functioning at my highest self if I'm worrying. Now, if I care, that's a different thing, but worrying is getting caught up in the pendulum's tricks. I already went over allow yourself to be you and others to be themselves. This is a valuable one. Let people be. You don't need to convince anybody of anything. You don't need to convince people of transurfing. You don't need to convince people that they're a pendulum or that their thinking is wrong or that their political beliefs are wrong. None of that stuff. Let them exist. Drop importance on you needing to change their thinking or get them to adhere to your pendulum. Let them exist and you let yourself exist and kind of balance it out where nobody, they may be trying to get you over to their side, but again, practicing these techniques and concepts will help eliminate some of that imbalance. And then of course you cannot try to hook them into your pendulum as well. One person can make the difference. This is really the beauty of reality transurfing. You can enter into a room and with your resonating frequency, you can make a difference in that room, right? This is used via frailing. Frailing is a huge one, tuning into the will of your environment or tuning into the will of another person and not trying to fuel a situation with your own will. This is very much a powerful shift that occurred in my mind. If you all saw the video where I talked about the story of the Sizzler restaurant, I used to come to town to visit my family and immediately I would start trying to control which restaurant we were going to go to. And by the time I convinced everybody to do what I wanted to do and I got to the restaurant, I was depleted emotionally. I was tired. I was exhausted. Nobody was having a good time because I was working with my own will, inner intention. When I realized that I could come to town and let them be in the driver's seat, let them pick what they wanted. They'd want to go to the Sizzler, which was a restaurant that I didn't really care for. Now, if I get the opportunity to go to the Sizzler with my family, I am happy as a clam because this represents my ability in letting my environment's will run the show, or the will of my family, and me letting go. It's symbolic, me letting go of my own will needing to run on that thing which was not serving me. It was not helping me. So again, you can make a difference. Play the reality transurfing game with your family and see how much of a difference you can make just being one single person, changing things up a little bit. Rent yourself out. Renting yourself out can be wild fun. I have rented myself out in a number of different types of circumstances when it comes to family stuff, and it's crazy because you are influencing the people around you by giving them what they want, and they don't know what's going on. They don't understand. They can't figure it out. It's like a game you're playing with your reality, with your environment, and it can be a lot of fun and it can be highly effective. It is renting yourself out, giving family members or a husband or a wife or a spouse or children exactly what it is they're asking for, knowing with full awareness that you are playing the game, that you are frailing them. It can be wildly beneficial, fun. You can see how much power one person has over a situation. The last thing, and this is really for the bold, I call it stop, drop, and roll. This is you responding to the pendulum outrageously, right? Disrupting the script. I know that in a previous video I said, go to the kitchen and grab a pot and a big spoon and start banging it around if you can't achieve any success with these other techniques. Disrupt the script. Don't give into the script by arguing and facilitating the pendulum. And if the pendulum just does not get any of this other stuff and you are so challenged and you need to take drastic action, then it's time to deviate from the script and stop, drop, and roll. This is like just you really going all out and trying to create some waves and make some different energy in the domestic environment or with your family. So these are a few of the tools that I have used. Transurfing, again, works brilliantly when it comes to affecting the dynamic of a situation. But again, you have to be aware, first of all, what exactly is going on. If you don't have awareness, you are pendulum food. You are going to get caught up because you aren't paying attention to what is happening energetically, and you're getting hooked. So the first step is to really assess the situation. What is this pendulum and why is it coming for me? And why does it want what it wants? And as soon as you can answer these questions, you can then build a strategy on how to go about defeating them, or renting yourself out, or giving them what they want, or frailing them, or, last case scenario, stop, drop, and roll. If anybody actually does this within the family, within a family situation, I would like you to talk about this on the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group, because this is extreme, and I have done it a few times. It is effective, but it does take guts. So if you have in fact used this technique, please come and tell us all about it so we can laugh and maybe gain a little inspiration ourselves, a little power to do this ourselves. So that's it for this, guys. Please comment and like this video if you do. Here at ITI, we really appreciate your energetic contribution. If you have not subscribed here already, please do so. And of course, join the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group. It is lit, and we talk about stuff like this and pretty much everything else under the sun, and view it through the transurfing filter. So please tune into that. And yeah, peace be with you guys. Have fun defeating those family pendulums. Bye.